Welcome back everyone to the Theta Communications video series. Today we're going to be talking about some very important Nvidia news that got swept under the rug with the rate cuts this week. Before we proceed, let us thank our Theta stakers as well as our Tfuel stakers over on ThetaCommunications.com. You all make this content possible. As well as, if you have not seen our 1-hour interview with Joe Stevens, definitely go check that out. We appreciate all the support over on Twitter. A great feedback, great response. Joe was a great guest, and I look forward to doing more interviews just like that in the future. All right, let's head into our topic for today, and that is that China has banned their tech companies from buying Nvidia AI chips. The timing of this news is very important because while Jerome Powell was cutting rates on the 17th here, this was all occurring within the news and no one was really talking about it at all. And it's a significant piece in the story, especially with all the different other things happening, swirling online. This somehow went amiss in the news here. So the conclusion is that China's AI processors had reached a level comparable to or exceeding that of Nvidia, allowed under the export controls. So this means that China is becoming a true competitor to Nvidia. And again, this goes back to our other YouTube video, is first last. How much value destruction, like via DeepSeek, is going to occur, right? We saw that with large language models. Is that the canary in the coal mine for this space? With this being is that how cheap will China be able to produce these chips and then push those out to the rest of the global population? The problem this presents to the American economy is we don't know the true number represented here, right? We've spoken in a previous session about how Singapore has increasingly been used as a pass-through to curb export controls of Nvidia chips. As you can see, this number has been growing steadily through the years as the export controls have been put on. Now, we've seen this number for China dropping with the export controls. So now the question is, okay, so we have 13% here, we have 18% here. How close to 30% are we actually? How much of this number is actually a Chinese pass-through? Because this is potentially 25-30% of the revenues for Nvidia. That's a significant amount of value capture baked into the price of the stock. So with that being said, that puts the indexes and everything on very shaky ground as of current. And no one's talking about it right now, and that's very concerning. The other concerning thing is we've seen weird moves by them to pad this stuff. We saw that Nvidia bought a stake in Intel, which didn't make a lot of sense, but they did it and it made the headlines, and this other news got swept right under the rug. So this is the dilemma that Nvidia as a centralized company is facing right now. Is that they've been lobbying to China too, and tons of money. The lobbying efforts just to the Chinese was a total waste of capital if Nvidia is not allowed in the country. They spent tons to go in there and try to get Nvidia or H20 chips and varying subset chips into the country, but it's not going to happen now. So because of that, Baidu, Tencent, Alibaba are all gaining in value rapidly. And we are seeing a massive rotation right now of American investors as well, maneuvering capital into these Chinese companies because they realize that the value of these has to find a happy medium between where Nvidia is at and where the actual value is of producing chips. So the question is, how overvalued potentially is Nvidia if they are in terms of dollars? So this is where we're at. That got swept under the rug, and this raises the question too for Theta here. Is Theta is in a prime position for this whole war that's about to offshoot. China has been creating deflationary goods for America for over 40 years now. And that has allowed the inflation from the currency, right, the currency issues, to be put at bay or slowed down significantly. But now the deflationary elements from Chinese production are actually going to hurt the U.S. Via the Nvidia stock price. So this is where the Chinese are gaining traction, and they won't even have to throw any form of weaponry at the U.S. They can damage in two ways. One is the export of cheap Chinese goods to America, right? So each dollar that has to go back over here ends up buying gold that shores up the yuan and their currency. And two, if they produce chips that are on par or as good as Nvidia, that hurts the stock market over here and adds value here and creates a product that they can then distribute out to the other nations and outcompete the U.S. on the chip front. So the Chinese are in a really good position right now. And to add to that, Theta is going to be playing a massive role, especially as chips potentially get constrained across the globe. And Theta is going to act as a relayer so that each country can do the important things that they would like to do with their GPU set that they get from wherever they get it from, Nvidia or a Chinese chip. And then all the other stuff that's going to be happening, whether that's image creation, whether that's video or movie creation, all those subset tasks that are going to streamline other innovations in the future, will be able to process through and do so cheaply. As we stated with Joe Stevens here in this previous session, the curve on cheapness of AI compute, as it gets cheaper, there is going to be more and more content, right? It only grows from there. So therefore, things like Theta become, just like what I said with Nvidia, this blanket over the world, not beholden to a single nation, and are able to operate and produce massive amounts of value as a consortium to the global marketplace. So Theta is in a prime position. No one is talking about this. No one is seeing this. And it's why we are so happy that Theta is hardware agnostic, because the hardware is going to change drastically. And Theta doesn't care if it's a Baidu chip, an Alibaba chip, a Tencent chip, or if it's an Nvidia chip. If it can process, it can handle things for the edge cloud, then it is useful. And that is what is really beautiful about Theta, and no one is talking about that. So this really puts people who hold stocks in a really weird position, people that have pension funds, people that have retirement funds. I worry, and none of this is financial advice, of course, but we have to consider how much of these indexes that Nvidia is actually in play for. So, and the fact that they are now with Intel, there's just so much going on. So, very concerning to say the least, but it only emboldens the path that we are all embarking on currently. All right, everyone, I hope you have found this video well. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, I will see you on Tfuel Island. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.